Welcome to Trailblazers. I'm Melody Bradford. In the studio with me today is a leader, creator, and visionary. Many of you have seen him on the big screen and network television for decades, from his memorable role alongside Harrison Ford in The Fugitive to appearances on hit television series like Lost and Matlock. Daniel Roebuck has built a career in Hollywood that spans generations. But beyond the spotlight, Danny has stepped into producing, directing, and writing, creating meaningful films like Getting Grace and his newest project, The Hail Mary, all while championing the Lehigh Valley as a place where powerful stories can be told. Today we talk about faith, filmmaking, leadership, resilience, and what it really takes to make it in Hollywood and beyond. Danny, welcome to Trailblazers. I'm thrilled to have you here.
I'm so excited. Could you keep that speech handy for when I die? Because that's really good. That's what I kind of like at my funeral. Thank you so much. I love being here. You know how much I love the Lehigh Valley. And you and I share a moment in history because you're actually you and Caleb, your son, are part of Getting Grace.
Yes.
So it's so great to reconnect today.
Yeah. Danny, take us back. Where did your love for acting begin, and when did you know that this wasn't just a hobby, but it was your calling?
Oh, gosh. I think it was my calling from a very early age. I wrote and directed my first play before I could write or spell my name.
Wow.
I drew pictures of a play, and we performed it at St. Anne's School. It seems like a little thing like, what are we talking about that? But that was because the nun, Sister Kathleen, the religious sister, believed in me and allowed me to become a creative person. And from that point on, I've always been a creative person. And the Hail Mary is finally my letter of gratitude to Sister Kathleen, her, and all the other religious sisters. But I've knew since I was a kid that I was an entertainer. I went to the Boyd Theater to see James Whitmore in Give 'Em Hell, Harry, which was a one-man show that they filmed, put out in movie theaters, and it did so well that Whitmore was nominated for an Oscar. But I walked into the theater at 13. I had already been an impressionist, a ventriloquist, a magician, an entertainer. I walked in the theater, and I walked out an actor. I said, that's what I'm going to do. Very specifically, that performance changed everything for me. And then that's what I did. Pennsylvania Playhouse, Civic Theater, Civic Little Theater back then, Civic Theater now, dinner theater. I mean, I just started I performed constantly, 40 shows in like 4 years.
Wow. And then
Hollywood.
Right? So what was it like when you first hit it in Hollywood, right? Was there a moment when you realized this is real and I'm here?
It's so strange. You know, I married my first wife was Leslie Merkel here from Allentown, and she was in the theater, and we moved out there like it was a different time. I'll tell you, like I would have just moved out, and I told her I was moving out, and she and I were dating. She said, I'm going with you. And in 1983, you didn't take someone's daughter across the country without marrying her. Like that was not a negotiable.
Let alone Hollywood.
Yeah, let alone Hollywood. That was not a negotiable. So we did get married and had, had the blessing of being together. And then, moving on to our prospective lives from there. But it was something, it's nothing like here. It was different than it is even now. You could walk down Hollywood Boulevard and I would see all the people that I saw in smaller parts on TV and constantly, hey man, you were in 2 episodes of The Odd Couple. What, you remember me from The Odd Couple? Because, it was 10 years earlier for them.
Yeah.
So, and then I got so lucky and blessed. My very first film audition, I ended up in the lead of the movie.
Wow.
And kind of never looked back from there.
Yeah. And you worked alongside Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. That was one of the movies that you were in. What did that experience teach you about professionalism and working with A-list talent?
That's my first dealing with that was my second movie, which was River's Edge, where the stars of the movie were Crispin Glover, who was he had just come out in Back to the Future. But, my co-star that I spent the most time with was Dennis Hopper. And at that point, Dennis had already had a 30-year career in Hollywood. And he came in and I thought, my gosh, he's so old, he's so wise, he's like Gandalf. I realize now he was 8 years younger than I am sitting here today.
Wow.
That's how young he was. He wasn't really old at all. But when you work with A-list talent, you rise to A-list talent's level. You can't, otherwise you're A, wasting an opportunity, but B, I think you just want to do better. And by the way, that's part of our theory here when I bring movies to the Lehigh Valley. We cast many local people. But I bring in my ringers are, people from Pulp Fiction and, Little Children. And I mean, big movies and real actors. And then I put the local folks next to them. And they always rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
When do you see the 25 kids in the Hail Mary? These kids are unbelievable. None of them had ever been in a movie before.
I'm super excited. We're going to get to Hail Mary in a moment here. You've appeared on major television hits like Lost in Matlock. How different is the pace and craft of television versus film?
Oh, yeah. Well, it depends on the film. It's slower than The Fugitive and faster than any Dan Roebuck movie we've made in the Lehigh Valley. Because TV, you usually shoot 8 pages a day, and we usually shoot 8 pages a day in the movies we do here. So I give my movies generally a 26-day schedule. That's good for us. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. But we get finished, and we always finish on time and on budget. I will say that we have built a fantastic infrastructure here in the Lehigh Valley of filmmaking partners. Our technicians and our casting, like Beth Klausnitz, are here. And, we've got a great group of people that work very well professionally and have turned into a real good team. We all know each other, and we can all joke with each other and have fun the whole time. Movies are hard to make because you're pushing a boulder up a mountain every day, and then you wake up at 4 o'clock the next morning and some idiot put the boulder back down in the valley, and you got to push it all the way up the mountain again. But when you're doing it with people you love, you're having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, at what point did you decide you didn't just want to act? You wanted to create and produce and direct your own films. Where did that come in?
Well, I'd say that little boy in first grade who brought a play to Sister Kathleen was where it started, absolutely. I've always written stuff. I've always written and directed since I was a kid, and then directed in the theater. And so I've always done it. When I was raising a family, I had to rely on the specific talent God gave me, because to become a director was an enormous hit on my bank account. Because
I can imagine.
Yeah. And we make these movies, the 2 movies we made through A Channel of Peace so far. I take no salary to write, produce, direct, star. My wife, who does 10 times more than I do, doesn't take any salary. My daughter, who produces, doesn't take any salary, although Gracie just got married recently to circumvent that rule, because I always said no one named Roebuck gets paid, and that's going to change now, she said, because she's a butler. And I don't think, by the way, I don't think that's sustainable either. But I don't know why that was tangential to something I was saying. I lost my train of thought. But I've always wanted to direct, and I couldn't direct because I had to raise a family, so I had to act. And now that the kids were older and grown, I was in a position where I could take a hit on my bank account and make the sacrifice to become a director.
Mm-hmm. You wrote, directed, and starred in Getting Grace. What inspired that story, and why was it so personal for you?
Oh, well, I co-wrote it. It was a script written by another fellow who allowed me to rewrite his script. He wrote it when he was very young. And what inspired me to make it was the main character was so odd and silly and so outgoing and gregarious and odd and weird. And it was exactly like my daughter. And the original script was called Bending Spoons because there was this B storyline about, trying to use your mind to bend a spoon. And we once came out of you never know what's going to end up somewhere. We came out of a teacher's conference when Grace was in 5th grade or 4th grade. And it's just so funny to look back. The woman we went to first said, Grace, she's always talking. She's always trying to be funny. She's always off topic. It's very difficult to teach her. And, you like any parent, like you're a parent, right? I was like, well, I got to get home and beat my daughter. I mean, I didn't realize that I've got to punish her more. We go across the hallway and the guy goes, Grace, he goes, oh, she's always trying to be funny. She's always talking. She's always off topic. I love having her in my class, and we're driving home and my former wife, Kelly, says, she goes, well, some people get grace and others never will. And she's talking
a line
about
in the movie.
a line in the movie. And then it became the title of the movie because God's grace is available to everyone and some people get it. We all get it, but some people understand that they have it and others don't. Yeah. And so you never know where something's going to come from. So that's what really attracted me to the movie. And also, man, it's funny how things turn full circle. When I was in Bethlehem Catholic, and we had to come up with we had to write about our career, but you had to interview someone in your career. Well, there was no professional actor, so my fallback was I thought I'd be a mortician because someone told me I'd have a good personality to be a mortician. So I interviewed a guy, over at Long Funeral Home, and about becoming a mortician in Pennsylvania. And then, through getting grace, I became a mortician in Pennsylvania because, we used Dimitri and Paula Heron's amazing funeral home, the Heron Funeral Home. And I played a mortician. And then one step further, I got an honorary funeral director's degree.
Oh, my word.
Because the funeral directors loved the movie so much. So everything came true.
That's incredible. So you now have a new film about to release, and when this actually airs, which will be the 24th of
soon.
February,
Yeah.
Just a few days later, you'll have the release, the worldwide release, the national release.
The national release. We're very excited.
Yeah. What's the story, and why is this project important right now, and why is the timing significant?
Oh, well. The story's about a nun who finds a guy in desperate need of redemption, and to lead him toward it, because he's not interested, she cons him into creating a football team for her all-boys Catholic school. So it's about forgiveness, self-forgiveness, redemption. It's told through a prism of humor and joy. I think it's filled with many, many, many surprises. Why is it important now? Have you watched the news? We've never been more divided when in reality we're all under the same umbrella of love by a creator who loves us. And if we could just remember that each of us has a different path and a different, it's just odd how divided we are, and it must be heartbreaking to our creator. Mm-hmm. So this movie is important to come out now because it reminds you that, no matter how deep the valley is that you fall, God wants you to be on the top of the mountain with him.
Your faith is something you've spoken about openly, and it clearly informs the stories you choose to tell. How does your faith lead your work, not just creatively, but in how you treat people, make decisions, and define success? And why is it so important to you to share with others?
Man, that's a great question. Let me tell you something. I mentor actors often. It's been a little harder lately since I've been directing. It's hard for them to get this into their head, that you're going to get what you're supposed to get, but the other guy gets what he's supposed to get. And as long as you serve your talent and serve your gift from God, meaning you're prepared, you're on time, you treat people kindly when you're there, you're respectful, well, you've done as much as you can do. And you're not supposed to get everything, because there's a lot of actors. So having faith has definitely, over time, I've realized that when I don't get something, the other guy needed it more, or the other guy deserved it, or it was written, conceived for him in the beginning without anybody even knowing it. Heck, there's a kid, I love to use this example, and I only say it out loud now because I would never have told him then. Keith, a great local actor, I met him at Panera. He used to work at Panera. And I met him, and he always came over and talked because I used that as my office for Getting Grace and Lucky Louie, because my father doesn't have internet because he's like Fred Flintstone. So I'd have to go to Panera to work. And this kid, I literally wrote a part in the movie, The Hail Mary, for him because it was so based on his personality, but then I made him audition for it because I didn't know if he could act. And then he could act. So he's so terrific in the movie playing himself. But he didn't know he was playing himself in the long run. So, we don't know what's planned for us. And in that case, that was me on an individual basis. But, when I was a kid, Melanie, I watched the Andy Griffith Show. I watched the Munsters. I would go see Rich Little perform live. Mm-hmm. I could tell these stories again and again. Now I'm Grandpa Munster. Now I was on Matlock. Yeah. I've kind of stepped into from my past to my future. I'm in Star Wars. Like I sat and watched at the Boyd Theater with everybody else, my mouth hanging open. The other day, I couldn't go. Our movie, The Hail Mary, was nominated for an award at the ICVM Crown Awards. It's a very big faith-based award. We were up for Best Feature Film. And I couldn't go because I had to work on something specific. And one of our producers said, "Did you ever think you would say, I can't go to the award ceremony for a movie I directed because I got to work on this thing that's, the dream of a lifetime, But I take this moment to acknowledge that that's not just my hard work. That's God's blessing to me, plus it represents the hard work of everyone who helps us make these movies."
Yeah. When you're producing a film, let's shift gears real quick.
Sure.
When you're producing a film, how do you select your cast and crew? What qualities matter most to you in those individuals?
I don't like jerks. And
despite
that, I hire some. No, that's not true. I want people who just, you can't be creative. I'm sorry, but this is the problem with Hollywood being so woke. You cannot be creative and also worry about everything. Like comedy has to spring out of surprise, moments on the set. It's a collaborative effort. And although I am the steerer of the ship and the captain and the general, I listen to the privates sometimes because they'll come up with a joke that one-ups what I have or whatever. So I want people who are collaborators, but also people who respect the chain of command, because that's most important. That there's a system of the way you do things. When it comes to cast, man, I don't care if Beth will tell you, we always get kids, right? And they're always like, this kid was on Broadway. Please don't bring me any Broadway kids. I don't want bring me a kid from South Allentown. Bring me just a regular human being. Believe me, I have an ear. I could tell if they're an actor. I took Madeline Dundon. I get to take all the credit for this because I pulled Madeline Dundon out of Bethlehem Catholic High School. She starred in 4 huge movies now.
Wow.
4. 2 that I made and 2 that other people made, and she'll be continuing through. Check her out. She's in this movie called Hazel's Heart. You can find it everywhere. She's spectacular in it. And that was, just finding a kid in Forgetting Grace that everybody in Hollywood said, you're never going to find an actor who could pull this off who doesn't have experience. But you can. And you just got to trust them. These kids in this movie, I just was listening to radio interviews. I did many radio interviews, and many of the people saw the movie. And they all commented on how real the cast was and how it just seemed like we put a camera in front of some kids and filmed them while they were going through this event.
Yeah.
And that's just because you have to have an ear. And so I look for that. I just look for real people who have real hearts.
It really was executed flawlessly, I have to say.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful piece. You've been intentional about filming in the Lehigh Valley. Why is it so important for you to make this region the backdrop for your stories? Which, by the way, I'm so grateful for.
Oh, thank you, Melody. I want to tell you, if anybody's confused about it, let me say on camera, I love the Lehigh Valley. I love it here, and I feel like we are making 2-hour postcards celebrating the Lehigh Valley and the people in it. I swear to you, I believe that all the success I've been given has led me back to here. Like God's intention for me all along was that I expand my knowledge of how to make these movies, and then I bring it back here and I celebrate this community. Because I live in Hollywood. I've traveled all over the world. There's nothing like this. People don't understand, and I hope that, if you're listening to this maybe you do, but the simple fact is not every town has such a rich history and an historic background and a commitment to the art that this community has. I'm telling you, I've been everywhere. If you go to upstate New York where another Bethlehem steel plant is, there's no casino there. There's no... And I know people didn't want the casino, but the casino brought the money to the arts and helped invest in the arts in the community. You go to these other places and it's a blight. Mm-hmm. You come to the Lehigh Valley and it's a light. Mm-hmm. Like that's the difference. So celebrating the state, the people of it. And what I love to do is in almost every movie so far, there's a Easter egg of another movie in it. Like if I would have had more time, we had a scene where a guy in Lucky Louie was talking in the park. If I would have had time, I would have put the characters from Getting Grace in the background to see if this was going on at the same time that was going on. We just didn't pull it off in time, but I do put other Easter eggs in. So the movies all take place here. They're all part of the same universe of the Lehigh Valley. Even if the actors are playing different roles, they're all in the same universe.
Yeah. And so what does Pennsylvania, and specifically the Lehigh Valley, need to do to attract more filmmakers and productions, do you think?
Oh, well, I think we have to. I think we've done the first part. We've built the infrastructure. And I feel if I can take any pride in any one thing specifically, it's that we have taken the time to be patient to teach our people here how we make movies for real. Because everybody has a theory about what a movie is and how it's made. But we have this intern program. We've taken kids from PAs to our first AD position. Mm-hmm. We've given people the courtesy of teaching them how it works. I think now that we have this infrastructure, and finally we're in touch with the state film office was kind of, when I went there initially for Getting Grace, it wasn't about independent filmmaking. It was about, giving Warner Brothers back $5 million. It was terrible. It was like inconceivable what they were doing because, Warner Brothers comes in and they make Transformers, but they turned Bethlehem into China or Japan or whatever it was supposed to be. You know what I mean? My movies are about us, Pennsylvanians.
Here, yeah.
Here. That should be its own category. That's what I think. That if you're celebrating the place, there should be a celebrating category. Mm-hmm. So, I think we've built the infrastructure. I'm going to continue making movies. Our next film is Men of Granite, and we're going to shoot that this summer right here in the Lehigh Valley. Mm-hmm. And that is a veteran story. We'll shoot some of it right around the corner at New Bethany. Mm-hmm. We've written that into the story, and I always write the valley into the story specifically. So, you're at the Northampton Diner or you're at the Bethlehem Municipal Stadium specifically. You're not at a stadium, you're at that stadium.
This Hail Mary project, how can moviegoers catch your newest project?
Well, thank you, but we say the Hail Mary film because the Hail Mary project, unfortunately, is another $300 million movie coming out a month after we're here.
Oh, wow.
So they could see the Hail Mary. which their movie's named after a football play. My movie's named after the mother of Jesus, and that's how you delineate them. They can see my movie. It'll open nationwide, our movie, on the 27th. Here in the Valley specifically, we're playing at the Frank Banco Ale House, at the Roxy, at the State Theater in Boyertown, and at the Pocono Cinemas. So,
as well as Becca, correct?
and well, Becca, we're having that's the premiere tomorrow.
Okay.
We're turning my home alma mater into a 5.1 surround sound system, huge screens,
Wow.
great sound system. It's going to be magical, and the people who go there are going to see Becca in the. Not only is the team in the movie, but the school's actually photographed in the movie. So they'll be like, wait, that's right out front. I just drove by there. My gosh, what are the chances? So we're excited about that, and we're also playing at the Banco and the Roxy. We've sold out that premiere, but I think that, Richard Wolff, who's so fantastic, he's, the guy who runs and owns the Roxy. He says, Dan, I don't know. They don't do it for any other movie, but I see the people, same people 3 days in a row. They come and they bring other people to your movies. And that's good, I think. St. Nick of Bethlehem definitely struck a chord. I think because we have the Liberty Grenadiers, the Freedom Patriots, the Bethlehem Catholic Band, the Bethlehem Catholic cheerleaders, I think we've given a lot of love to the community and the football community here in the Valley. And I hope people do want to go see it again and again. I think they'll find something new every time they see it.
That's incredible. So with every long career comes setbacks. What challenges have tested you the most, and how did you overcome them? And after decades in the industry, how do you define success today? Is it different than when you first started?
I don't know that it's different. When I left, all I said was I want to be a working actor. Now, people say, I remember you said you were going to be a star. I never said it. I would never think like that. I was looking at William Wyndham and James Whitmore, who I said, these were just character guys like me who worked their whole life, like I've become, Mm-hmm. So I've defined success the same way. But real success comes with, I look at my children, and they're both kids who give back all the time. And that's real success to me is, we just had another tragedy lately, with Robin Reiner and his wife. Mm. Do you know how many kids of movie stars and TV stars kill themselves? Mm. It's 10 times, 20 times, 50 times greater than regular people. So I'm glad my kids are great. And obstacle-wise, look, every actor finds, there's a moment when you're not booking the jobs or it's slow. Certainly making these movies has been, has been a detriment to my bank account. But when I die, these movies will, if you want to know how I felt about Pete's Hot Dogs across the street or chili cheese dogs or Yakos or Pots or the church or God or faith or forgiveness, all you got to do is turn on one of my movies and you'll be completely informed about what my heart was.
After decades in the industry, how do you define success today? Is it different than when you first started with just a minute left in the program?
Yeah, no, I think I haven't changed how I feel about success. I think it requires a great deal of humility and gratitude because nobody gets anywhere on their own. You're always walking a path side by side with our Creator. And, if you end up doing what you love, then you're the luckiest person in the world. Mm-hmm.
Daniel Roebuck's career is a testament to longevity, reinvention, and purpose. From Hollywood blockbusters to deeply personal independent films, he has proven that success isn't just about fame, it's about impact. His commitment to storytelling, to faith, to community, and to building something meaningful right here in the Lehigh Valley reminds us that you don't have to leave your roots behind to reach the world. Danny, thank you for your creativity, your courage, and for blazing trails both on and off the screen. And to our listeners, if this conversation inspired you, share it. Support local films, support bold storytelling. Until next time, keep dreaming big, keep creating boldly, and keep blazing those trails. Thanks a lot, Danny.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you, everybody.